Hello, AP Psych kids. We're going to do section 2 of chapter 4 on neurobiology. We're going to look at communication in the nervous system today. So I'm a level you. We're getting real sciencey here, and I am not a science guy. I'm a history guy. I'm a historian. So if I mispronounce these, don't make fun of me. I can pronounce Queen Liliuokalani or Nebuchadnezzar, but if it comes to something that's scientific-y, give me a break, okay? But let's get into this. Communication in the nervous system. We at the last section we talked about the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system and how it's broken down. So how these neurons or nerves, which is a collection of neurons, communicate. Neurons are nerve cells that transmit information to and from and within the nervous system. They are held in place by glia or glial cells, which is Greek for glue. Glia is Greek for glue. Kind of easy to remember, kind of alliteration homes like that. It makes up 90% of our brain is this glia, all this tissue that holds the neurons in place. They also provide nutrients and insulate the neurons. They protect from toxic agents like alcohol and drugs. They remove cellular disease when neurons die. They prune away the dead neurons and all that good stuff. So they're kind of the maintenance, the landscapers of the brain, if you will. And then they communicate with other glia through ATP, which I got to be honest, I get excited. I hear ATP and I think Apple Tree Park, which is where I grew up. This is where we had our annual Apple Tree Park basketball tournament here as little 8th graders trying to play men and getting worked, but then there's usually some fistfights broken out. But all you sciencey people say it's endinotriphosphate. Adenosine triphosphate. Apple Tree Park, yo, that's where it's at, the hood. Glia help determine which connections get stronger and get weaker. So every time you learn something, your brain structure changes. It changes the structure of your brain, and your glial cells do that. It is vital in learning, it's vital in memory, and all that good stuff, which is why you're here. You're here to learn. So you have about 100 billion neurons in your brain. That's a lot. I mean, that's almost as much money as Jeff Bezos has. The digestive system, you have 100 million neurons. So when you have a gut feeling, there are neurons in your gut telling you things, and we should listen to it. A lot of problems with digestion and even some anxiety issues might come from improper gut bacteria. And so the digestion there is not working. The neurons are signaling, hey, something's wrong. Your heart, you can feel things in your heart when your heart goes pitter-patter because you love someone, has 40,000 neurons. So by far, your brain has way more. Now, dendrites are the branches that act as the antennas to receive and send out, to receive the messages. Dendrite, the way to remember that is the Greek word for tree is dendros, and so they're branches. Dendrite is really what it literally means is branches. The cell body is the sphere or the pyramid that is the biochemistry machinery to keep the neuron alive, and you guys have all learned what the powerhouse of the cell is. Yeah, midichlorians, all that stuff, or whatever it is. I don't know. I didn't learn that. You did. Axons are they transmit the message, so they send the message out. Dendrites receive it. So like a baseball player has a glove on one hand, I'm a lefty, and they throw with one hand. So the dendrites, the glove, receives the message. The axon throws the ball, sends the message. They divide into axon terminals, which look like little sausages because sausage is delicious. Many of those are insulated with a fatty material called a myelin sheath. Like when you sheath your sword, it's insulated. So if you look at my sleeves here, I don't have sleeves. This would be an uninsulated neuron. Insulated would be myelin sheath if I had long sleeves. Now, just like electrical wires, if it's an insulated wire, it's much less likely to go haywire or to just arc or fire randomly. If it's insulated, it works faster and it helps the neuron fire appropriately. So the nodes are formed from the constrictions of the covering, which makes it look like sausage. If the myelin sheath rots away, that's where we get multiple sclerosis, which is MS. You can remember that because myelin sheath, MS, multiple sclerosis. So here's a diagram of all this stuff. The nucleus, the cell body, the axons, the dendrites, the synapses is the tiny little gap, the synaptic cleft or synaptic gap, and then here's the nodes we were talking about here. So the myelin sheath prevents signals from adjacent cells from interfering with each other, so they don't arc or they don't get cross-wired. It also speeds up the condition of the neural impulses. People with multiple sclerosis have the loss of the myelin sheath, as pictured here in this picture, which is very similar to electricity. If you have insulated versus uninsulated wires, if you've ever wired anything, you'd learn about this, and maybe not. Electrician, that's a good job. You should get into that. The fibers of neurons are bundles. If you have a fiber of them, they're called nerves. The human body has 43 pairs of peripheral nerves. One nerve for each pair is on the right, and then one is on the left. and then they all connect to the spinal cord. Yay, harmony. You have also 12 pairs of cranial nerves that connect directly to the brain. So it's been previously thought that neurons could not regenerate. Well, with new science, and this is controversial because of stem cells, they're finding that they can regrow some nerve cells, which has the potential to help people that are paralyzed or if they're brain dead. Stem cell research has disproved this. Neurogenesis, or the growth of new neurons, is possible, but it is controversial. It's been politicized in this country from time to time. Embryonic stem cells are preferred than the stem cells in your own body. We all have stem cells, but embryonic stem cells, which usually comes from fetuses or umbilical cords or placenta, are pluripotent, which means they can be turned into anything. And this is where science fiction comes in, that someday you'll be able to grow a new body part on an animal or in a lab, and then you need a kidney transplant. They'll take your DNA, your stem cells, and make your own kidney from your own stuff. So it's not a transplant, and it will be accepted, not rejected. It's controversial because scientists use the cells from aborted fetuses. And so for a long time in this country, this was banned, it was illegal, and then it was brought back, and I'm not sure the status now. I don't want to get political. Let's move on. So how neurons communicate? They don't actually touch. In fact, when you actually touch your fingers like this, they don't actually touch. There's always a microscopic level where there's some little atoms in between, but it stimulates the neurons. So they don't actually touch. They get so razor close like that. And so it's called the synaptic cleft, or the synapse, or the gap. The entire site of the axon terminal, the cleft, and the covering membrane, and all the dendrites is called the synapse. Most synapses were not formed when we're born. They grow as we get older. Synapses proliferate at great rates, which is pretty cool in infancy. Many connections are pruned away in childhood and adolescence. The brain has plasticity. It's flexible and adapting and to new experiences. It's pretty cool. So the neurons communicate with electrical and chemical language. Nerve cells that are stimulated by an electrical charge have action potential. They travel faster in myelinated axons, the ones that are covered. It works faster in older kids and adults than babies. You can take a baby in a bathroom, this is kind of funny to do, and turn the lights off and hold them, and then you flip the lights on and look in the mirror, and their eyes are super big, and then they slowly contract. And so you can do that over and over again if you're bored with your baby. I used to do that to mine. Maybe that's why they're weird. The synaptic vesicles receive a few thousand chemical substances called neurotransmitters. They briefly bind to the receptor sites. And then there's excitatory. They're a positive voltage shift, which speeds the body up. It's the sympathetic nervous system. And we have inhibitory, which is a negative voltage shift, which slows the body down. This parasympathetic nervous system, which we talked about in the previous video. Drugs mimic these or replace agnostic. I told you the sciencey stuff's going to get me. Neurotransmitters, they block the reuptake. So anything that doesn't find a receptor cell, it's like the neuron sucks it back up. And so drugs can mimic this. They can block the reuptake of some of this, the antagonist or the agonist. Neuron either fires or doesn't. It's all or none. You're going to have an assignment in another video I'm going to make where we're going to use a toilet to demonstrate how a toilet is like a neuron. And you got to do that. And so check out that other video. So neurotransmitters are versatile couriers. There's different ones. You have serotonin, which affects our mood, our hunger, our sleep, our arousal, our memory consolidation. We have dopamine, which is our movement, our learning and attention, our emotion. It's kind of our happy one. When we're happy, we have dopamine. ACH, acetylcholine, here we go again. Memory, learning, and muscle action. We have norepinephrine, which is our alertness. It's kind of similar to adrenaline. GABA, not GABA, sorry. Gamma aminobutyric acid, which is a major inhibitory neurotransmitter, so it slows you down. Glutamate is a major excitatory neurotransmitter, which helps with memory, which is if you ever have MSG, monosodium glutamate, it can cause problems if you have glutamate deficiency. Amino acids from foods provide the building blocks, these proteins for all of these neurotransmitters. Stomach digestion loses its efficiency after age 25, and you don't get as much stuff from the amino acids from our foods as we need, so you might have to supplement that with vitamins. Gotta be an old person. So here's some of these things here, their functions, what they do, and then if you have a malfunction, like if you have a malfunction of ACH, it can help cause Alzheimer's, Dopamine, too much dopamine causes schizophrenia. If you don't have enough, it can increase in tremors and mobility and cause Parkinson's. Serotonin is linked to depression. It's kind of our happy one. Prozac and other things can do that. Norepinephrine, we can be depressed. GABA, if you don't have enough, can lead to seizures, tremors, and insomnia. And then too much glutamate can overstimulate the brain, causing migraines and seizures. Why people have to avoid monosodium glutamate, which is a flavor enhancer in food. Yay, all that good stuff, right? Just a couple other ones there that we kind of went over, and you can pause this if you want to look at it. You can even find the food you can get it in. Yay. So endorphins. Endorphins are endogenous opioid peptides. They're happy chemicals. They make you feel good. They reduce pain. They promote pleasure. They mimic opiates. Sometimes act as a neurotransmitter, but most of the time they alter the effects of other neurotransmitters. It was first identified in the 1970s by Candace Pert and Solomon Snyder, and what they found is they're released whenever you have pleasure. When you do something fun, you go for a run, maybe you make out with a girl you like, or if you eat chocolate or spicy food, they all do the same thing. Sorry, I didn't mean to go too quick there, but I'm trying to finish. Hormones are something, they're kind of like long-term neurotransmitters. They're chemical substances from the endocrine system that are released into our bloodstream. You have melatonin, which is our pineal gland, which controls our sleep and wake cycle. You have oxytocin, which is our kind of our love and affection gland, the pituitary gland, or hormone. Adrenal glands, the adrenaline, we got to get going, we got to run, we got to go fast. We have cortisol, which is a stress hormone. You have epinephrine, which is adrenaline, or norepinephrine, which is similar. You have your sex hormones, the gonads, which is testicles for boys and ovaries for women. They release androgens and then also estrogens. So you have your androgens, which are masculine hormones. The most common is testosterone, and then estrogens, which are feminine hormones. We both have, men and women have both in their body. You have androgens and estrogens. And so here's a diagram of the endocrine system and all that stuff. And maybe you did this in health class at one point. That's all I have. It went very quickly. If you have any questions, let me know. I hope I didn't screw up the pronunciation too bad.